Long before street lights chased away the darkness, and before money learned how to talk louder than wisdom, there was a village hidden between two rivers, where people believed that wealth had a spirit and poverty had a memory. The village was called Obinagu, a place where the soil was red like dried blood, and the night wind carried whispers that did not belong to the living. In Obinagu, elders warned that nothing comes without a price. But as time passed and hunger began to shout louder than tradition, people slowly forgot how to listen. Among the villagers lived a young man named Nwoye, tall, lean, and restless, with eyes that always seemed to be searching for something just beyond reach. He was known not for wickedness, nor for goodness, but for desperation, the kind that grows quietly in the chest until it begins to choke the heart. Nwoye had tried everything an honest man could try. He farmed until his hands hardened like wood. He hunted until the forest grew tired of him. He labored for rich men who never learned his name. Yet poverty followed him like a stubborn shadow. Each night he returned to his mud house, greeted by silence, empty pots, and the mocking laughter of children who had learned early that hunger does not respect age. It was on one such night, when the moon hung low and swollen like a watching eye, that Nwoye made a decision that would untie his fate from the living and bind it to the unseen. He remembered the stories elders told in whispers after palm wine loosened their tongues, stories about a spirit that lived near the old silk cotton tree by the river bend, a spirit that answered prayers for wealth, but never for free. They said the spirit was older than the village itself, neither male nor female, neither evil nor kind, but fair in a way that humans could never understand. Those who approached it came poor and returned rich, but their joy always arrived first and their sorrow always came later. Nwoye told himself that stories were meant to scare children and control men, but hunger has a way of making courage out of disbelief. Before dawn, he bathed, dressed in his cleanest wrapper, and walked toward the forbidden tree. The forest was unusually quiet, as if even the insects were holding their breath. When he reached the tree, its roots spread across the ground like giant fingers clutching the earth, and the river beside it moved slowly, thick and dark, reflecting no sky. Nwoye stood there, heart pounding, and spoke with a voice that trembled despite his effort to sound strong. He said he had come for wealth, not comfort, not happiness, but wealth, the kind that silences insult and bends respect in its direction. The wind rose suddenly, swelling dust and leaves, and from the shadows beneath the tree came a voice that sounded like many voices speaking as one, asking him if he understood the price. Nwoye swallowed and said yes, though his mind could not imagine what that price could be. The spirit asked him again, slower this time, if he was ready to pay when payment was demanded, not when it was convenient. Nwoye nodded, his mouth dry, his thoughts already dressed in visions of abundance. The air grew heavy and the river stopped moving. The voice told him to return home and sleep, that wealth would find him before sunrise, and that when the time came, he would know what was required. When Nwoye woke the next morning, he found a leather pouch beside his sleeping mat, heavy with cowries and gold coins older than memory. He ran outside, shouting, laughing, crying, calling neighbors to witness the miracle. News spread faster than fire in Harmattan, and by sunset, Nwoye was no longer the poor farmer. He was the man fortune had chosen. Days turned into weeks and the wealth did not stop. Money appeared where he walked, business bloomed under his touch, and people who once refused him greetings now bowed with forced smiles. He built a larger house, married 2 wives, and dressed in clothes that announced success before he opened his mouth. Each night, however, when the village slept, Nwoye dreamed of the river rising, of roots tightening around his ankles, of a voice counting slowly. He tried to ignore it, drowning fear in palm wine and praise songs, telling himself that fear was the language of the poor. But spirits are patient, and death do not forget. One evening, during a feast held in his honor, the wind returned, sudden and cold, blowing out lamps and silencing drums. In the darkness, the voice came again, calm and certain, reminding Noye that payment time had arrived. His heart raced as the voice told him the price was not his life, not yet, but something that belonged to him, something precious, something that would hurt without killing him. The spirit demanded his firstborn child, not in flesh, but in destiny, meaning the child would live but never truly belong to the living world. Nole screamed in denial, arguing, pleading, offering money, livestock, land, anything, but the voice only laughed softly, reminding him that the agreement was sealed by desperation, not negotiation. The next morning, his first son was born, healthy and beautiful, but from the moment the child opened his eyes, elders knew something was wrong. The boy never cried, never laughed, never slept like other children. His eyes followed things no one else could see, and his shadow sometimes moved when he stood still. As the years passed, Noye's wealth grew even larger, but his household grew colder. His son spoke rarely, and when he did, his words sounded old, heavy with knowledge no child should carry. People began to whisper, avoiding Noye's compound, crossing to the other side of the road when his son walked past. The boy did not age like other children. While his mates grew tall and strong, he remained thin and distant, untouched by time. Noye tried everything to reverse his feat, consulting priests, sacrificing animals, praying to every god his ancestors had named, but the spirit remained silent. Then one night, during a storm that tore roofs from houses and uprooted trees, the river flooded, and the silk cotton tree split open with a sound like thunder. The boy walked calmly toward the river, his feet untouched by mud, his face expressionless. Noye followed, screaming, begging, collapsing in the rain, but the boy turned only once, looked at his father with eyes full of ancient sorrow, and said that debts must be completed to close the door they open. He stepped into the river and vanished, and with him went the voice, the wealth, and the favor. By morning, Noye's riches had turned to dust, his animals lay dead, his storehouses empty, and his wives gone. The village returned to silence, and the elders gathered what remained of their wisdom to remind the people that wealth borrowed from the spirit world always collects interest, and that the most expensive things in life are often paid for long after the joy has faded. Till today, they say that on quiet nights, when the river is still and the moon hides behind clouds, a young boy can be seen standing beneath the silk cotton tree, counting softly, reminding anyone who listens that shortcuts do not shorten destiny, they only delay the pain.